Hello! Well, this is another in a series of skin tones, mixing up colours for skin tones. And in this one we're going to look at mixing up colours for the darker skins. So African or Caribbean, that kind of colour of skin. We've already looked at Asian, and we've looked at the paler skins as well in other videos. So in this one we're looking at darker skin tones. Now this is our reference that we're going to use today. So if you can see in this one here, we've got some lovely blue shades here on the side of the face, and purple tones in the nose and in the forehead here. There's some lovely colours in here, and top of the ear, side of the ear here, a lot of blue shades in here. So the colours that we're going to use today will be Naples yellow, yellow ochre, raw umber, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, cobalt blue, and Prussian blue. And of course, obviously we'll have there as well our titanium white. So I'm going to start off then looking at the the tones. So we'll have a look at these colours over here, and we kind of build up to see where we get on and what colours we need to add. So I'm going to start off as usual by adding in my solvent, my low odour solvent. And as always, this will be our lean layer. So little drop on the end of the palette knife of the linseed oil. That will be our lean layer, so we're having quite a lot of the low odour solvent, which is the drying agent. So we'll be making a thin layer of paint, so that we then are sure that it will be dry for us to paint over the top if we wanted to with other colours. But in this exercise anyway, what we're doing is I'm just going to show you how to mix up the colours. I won't actually be painting the face. That will be shown in a different video. But in this case, we're just showing you how to mix up the colours. So into that base colour, into that base mixture of mediums there, I need to decide what colour is going to be my base that I'm going to use. I'm going to look first of all for these paler shades around the outside here. So I think that in that instance, I think I might just start with my white. So I'm just going to mix that in there, and you can see how thin that paint is, which is good for your base layers. It means that we know it's going to dry faster, so it won't be a problem for us to paint over the top. If we were using this for painting, it won't be a problem for us to paint over the top to build up our painting without any worry about it cracking. So that's nice and thin. So I'm just going to bring my palette knife over and see how far away I am. You see on this outside edge here, I'm looking for these the palest highlights here and the edge of the face. Got another highlight there, but you can see how far away we are and where we need to add more colour. We're going to need to add, I think, in here some Naples yellow. So I'm going to add just a little bit on the end of the palette knife of Naples yellow in there. And just mix that all in, and come back in here, just put a little bit more on my palette knife so we can see. It's not quite the right colour, is it, there? It needs actually to be more bluer. Here, perhaps, I'm not looking at the eyes here, although this colour could be used in part of the eyes there, as you can see. I'm doing skin tones. Eyes I'll do in a different video. This one at the moment I'm doing is mixing up colours for skin tones. So there's possibility there that we could use that as a little highlight there, but down along here it needs to be bluer. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue. And it's not until you actually add, you hold your palette knife up that you can see the color that you need to add to it. Because the naked eye can be a bit deceiving, and you might think that that color there might be yellow, but it's clearly, it needed blue adding to it. I'm looking at this very outside edge here, very outside edge, and I think maybe it could do, I've added some blue, I'm going to add a tiny bit of alizarin crimson into it, but look how small that is, because you can see on the palette how quickly that changes. And the mixture of yellow, red and blue gives me a kind of a grey colour, and I think that's perhaps closer to what I need. This is the very outside edge here. I think that's pretty good for that outside edge there. Possibly down there as well, on the very, very outside edge. Could even be a little darker, a little bit more blue. Let's see how that looks. Give it a good mix in. You see how just a tiny amount makes such a difference. Hold that up again. Needs a little bit of red still. Very small amount. You can see how quickly that changes. Give it a good scoop up, make sure it's mixed in well. See, it's quite purpley now on my palette. We'll see if that's a good colour. Yes, it's not too bad. I think it could be a little yellower. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the Naples in there. That's taken a bit of the purple out of it. Just make sure you've got a flat bit on your palette, and I think that'd be very good for that outside brightest highlight that's catching the light there on the edge of the face. So I'm going to put that a little bit to one side so that we can see how the colours build up. So what colour am I looking for now? I'm going to go, I think, for this colour in here, and you can see if I hold my palette knife up that needs to be a lot redder in there, a lot pinker. So I'm going to add a little bit more alizarin, again very small amount, because that will change very, very quickly. I'm doing small amounts here because this is just an exercise to show you how to mix up the colours. If you were doing it yourself, you would be obviously mixing up a lot more colour. There you go, see, you've got that purple on the tip of the nose there, and some coming in here as well. So I'll put that over here as well so that you can see how we're building up the colours. So where am I going next? Right, I think that we need to go darker, but we also need to go more yellow in here. So I'm going to perhaps look at these more yellow shades first. They're warmer. I'm going to add into that, I'm going to add quite a bit more of the Naples yellow to warm that up. And I'll bring it back over just to see how far we are away. We still need to be a bit darker, but we're getting towards the colour that I need. It needs red in there. Again, I'm going to use the alizarin crimson for the moment. tiny amount, because as you've seen before, you can see how quickly that changes. Give it a mix in. How are we getting on? Almost getting there. You see, we're not quite dark enough. Perhaps maybe a little in here. I think actually it needs to be perhaps a little bit of the yellow ochre in there. Small amount. And warms it up a little bit more. Let's see, there you go. So we've got these tones in here. I'm looking at the paler tones, not the darker tones yet. I'll come to the darker tones in a bit, but I've got these tones in here. You see how my palette knife is disappearing into the background there on these paler tones here as well. Maybe the top of the lip here. Not pink enough for the lower lip, but we've definitely got these tones in here. So I'm going to put that also to one side so you can see how the colours build up. And let's see where we go now. So we needed pinker here, more red. So I'm going to add some more alizarin. Little tiny bit on the end of the palette knife. Let's see, there you go. So I've got that lower lip highlight there. And no, I don't think it could be used anywhere else, but we can use it on that lower lip highlight. So I'm going to put another area of that there. Now, I'm going now for perhaps these deeper tones in here. I think now I might, need some more alizarin. I think you're going to need some blue in a second as well. So I'm going to add the cobalt. Quite a good chunk of the cobalt, as you can see. And I'm getting to these much more purpley tones. See how we're getting on with those. Right, you see I've got purple tones here in the nose, on top of the nose here. They're not dark enough for up here, possibly above this eyebrow, but I've got them in the nose here. Not dark enough here for the lip either, but I've got them in the nose. So that also I'll put to one side. Right, so where do we go from there? So I've got these paler ones. I want to go darker in here. So I'm gonna, let's see. I think now I'm going to start adding the Prussian blue. Prussian blue is a much more neutral blue than the cobalt. Cobalt does tend to have a little bit of red in it, makes it more purpley. But the Prussian blue is a much more neutral blue. Now I see how I've changed the colour completely, much too blue. So I'm going to need quite a bit more red. So I'm going to add alizarin. End of the palette knife there. It's still too blue. If I bring my palette knife over, you can see it's much too blue still. I'm going to add now some cadmium red. Good chunk of cadmium red in there, because I want to warm that up. It's a little bit too cold for the skin tones, so the cadmium red is a warmer red than the alizarin crimson. And you can see already that that's making a much deeper colour. It's still not red enough though, is it? It's still too blue. So I'm going to go back in and add a bit more of alizarin. Yeah, it's getting better, but it's still a bit too blue. More alizarin in there. So let's see. I'm looking for these kind of tones in here, and I think I'm already a little too dark. So I'm going to add now some yellow ochre to that, which will lighten it up a bit, but it also take it more towards brown rather than purple. It takes that edge off. You see, and it's coming much better, but it's too dark still. Let's add some white. And I think possibly we'll add some Naples yellow in a second. Let's just try and see, well, we'll get on with that one. Yeah, it's better, but it's still a little too dark. I'm going to add Naples yellow. And I think it probably will need red as well, but we're a lot closer now. You see, in here, in here. Let's add some cadmium. The reason I'm adding cadmium again rather than the alizarin is I want to warm it up. That's better. Right, that's a lot better. So I've got in here, I've got these purpley tones in here that are deeper than this one, but not the inky darkness of the darker tones yet. So I've got these colours in here. As you can see, my palette knife is disappearing in these colours here. A little bit there on the bridge of the nose there. And around here and in the lip area down there as well. So I'll put that also to one side. So we've got that colour. I'm now going to look up here. I think it could be a bit paler there. I'm going to add some more Naples yellow into that. You see how I'm just building up colours, ostensibly going dark from light to dark, but occasionally I might need to just lighten something up if it's gone too much the other way. That's a bit better. Does need more red, cadmium, because the alizarin again would be too cold. Give that a good mix in. Let's come back over here. Yeah, you can see. Could do slightly paler again. I'm putting more of the Naples yellow in there. Yeah, that's a lot better. These are these tones in here. And there, I think maybe we could even add some yellow ochre in there. Give that again, good mix in, and back over here. Yeah, and these mid-tones in here, you can see the palette knife is disappearing behind. I need to lighten it up for this area. I can use it down here, but definitely in this area here too. I'll put that over here too, you can see. Right, so let's see, what else do we need? I think that we need now the very darkest shades, and before I come back in and I'll have a look at these blue shades over here, let's just look finally at the very dark. Now this is where I need to add the, this is the raw umber I'm adding into that. And I will need to also add a good chunk of the Prussian blue. You can see how blue that goes. Prussian is a very strong colour. I need also a good chunk of the alizarin crimson. What I'm looking for is a colour that looks black but actually isn't. We want the nice depth of colours in there. So this is still a bit too blue if I hold that up. So it needs more of the alizarin, and because that now is a very dark sort of purple, by adding the darkest on the yellow spectrum, which is the umber, that will take that, take the purple tone out, and as you can see, it looks more of an inky black. And if I hold that up there, you can see how dark that is, and we can use that in our painting over here. So I'll put that in there to one side, and I'm going to wipe my palette knife off, just clear away a little bit of that. And I'm now going to look for this blue over here. So again, because I'm going to start fresh, I do need to have my mediums first. A little bit on the end of the palette knife of the linseed oil, but the majority of it is your low odor solvent. So that is going to be a base of white. To a nice thin base again. And into that, if I hold the palette knife up, you can see we need blue. This is now going to be the cobalt. Quite a lot of cobalt going in there. I'll just hold that up. It needs to be more purple, you see. When I take the palette knife away, it looks mainly blue. Hold the palette knife there, which obviously is just blue. It needs more red. It needs the alizarin, small amount again. So you can see all of the colours that I've got here, they're all on this purple spectrum. But when you put them all together, you don't look at his face and say, "Oh, that's purple." As they all fit together, then they give no, there you go. They give the overall appearance of a darker skin tone, but there's a lot of red and a lot of blue in it, as you can see from these colours here. And that's what gives you these skin tones. And you've got this colour here as a beautiful highlight on that side of the face, on the edge of the ear over here. You can use it as well. So that's how you would make up the African, Caribbean, the darker skin tones. whatever the politically correct version is of saying it. Beautiful colour skin tones. That's how you'd make them up, using these colours that I've got here. So I've used the Naples yellow, yellow ochre, raw umber, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, cobalt blue, Prussian blue, and also a little bit of titanium white. Okay, so that's a sort of an African Caribbean skin tone.